Hello everyone, today I want to show you how to make this spaced diagonal wire weave, and this is what it looks like. So you have these little sections of diagonal wire weave, but then they're spaced out with wraps in the middle there, so you can space them out however much you want to, and it can look a little something like this. Gives a really nice effect. And the back is a little bit different looking due to the wraps that you do, but then this is what it looks like. So if you want to learn how to make this weave, then keep watching. So what I then have here is 3 lengths of my 1mm wire, and these are going to be the base wires for the weave. And then also we need a length of a 0.4mm, and then this is going to be the weaving wire around the base wires. So what I'm going to do is start out with grabbing one of my base wires here, and then also my weaving wire. Then I'm going to put the end of my weaving wire, leave a little bit of a tail behind my base wire like this. I'm just going to use the tail to hold on to as we get started. And then I need to just attach this weaving wire to the base wire by just wrapping it around. I'm just going to do this once for now, because then I'm going to go straight into the weave. So just like this. And then I'm going to grab my next base wire here, lay it above the previous one, just like that, and on top of the weaving wire. And then now my weaving wire is technically coming out between the 2 base wires towards the back, and then coming downwards around the bottom one again, and then over the top of the front of both of them, down towards the back of both of them here. So we wrapped around, one's around the first base wire, the bottom one, and then one's around both of them here. And then we want to come up between the 2 wires. So that means up between the 2 that we just wrapped, just like this, and then push it all the way down. Now I want to introduce the last base wire. So just again place that above the previous one. So now the new one here is the top base wire. And then again I'm going to take my weaving wire that's coming up between the 2 bottom base wires and lay it across the top 2 base wires now. Just like that. And again around the top and then down towards the back of all the base wires there. And again, just like before, we need to just finish that wrap. So we need to come up between the 2 base wires that we just wrapped. So that's between the top 2 base wires. And push that all the way down. And then do a final wrap around the top base wire on its own, just like we started with the bottom base wire on its own as well. So just like that. So that's the first go around. And then now to do the next little step here, all I'm going to do is I'm coming from that single wrap down behind all the base wires, and then I want to do the single wraps around the middle base wire on its own, just to kind of get that spacing in between each of these little sections that go across all the wires. So that means we're going to come down behind all the base wires, but come up between the bottom 2 base wires. There's a below the middle one. Come up between them, push it all the way down, across the front of the base wires. But then we need to just wrap around the middle one on its own, so that means we need to come down between the top 2 base wires, so just here. So that wraps around just that middle one on its own. Make sure you push your wraps nice and tight. And then again, now I'm behind all the base wires, so we need to come up between the bottom 2 base wires, push it down, wrap across the front towards the top, and then down between the top 2 base wires. So basically, if you imagine the 2 outer base wires aren't there, we're just coiling our weaving wire around the middle base wire. But obviously we have to come down between the wires because we are using more than that one. So I've done 2 now. How many you do on here really depends on how you want it to look. You can do however many wraps around the single wire in the middle here as you want. It all depends on how far spacing you want in between each of these sections. I've done 3. And then 4. And then I think I'm going to just do a 5th. Just to use a nice number. But like I said, you can use whatever you want to. Push them close together. And then now I want to start with the first section that we did again. So that's the single wraps here. So then the weaving wire is coming out towards the back. I'm going to come down behind all of them here, below the bottom one, all the way down. Then I'm going to wrap around the bottom and across the front, but we need to come straight down in between the bottom 2 base wires. Because if you remember, we need to start wrapping around the bottom base wire, just a single wrap on its own to start off that section. Then go around the bottom over the top of the base wires again. Now we need to wrap over the top of the bottom 2 base wires here. So that means I need to come down between the top 2 and then out towards the back. And then we need to come up between the 2 that we just wrapped together across the top. So I'm coming up between the 2 that I just wrapped, and you can then use that as well to help push your wraps nice and tight together. So go towards the top again, across the top, the front of the top 2 base wires now, so these 2 here, and then around the top towards the back, and again same as we just did, we need to come up between the 2 base wires that we just wrapped together across the front, and then again just like we started out and like we finished on the last one, we need to just wrap around the top base wire on its own, just like that. And then there's your next little section, and then you just go back into wrapping around the middle one again. So you come up between the bottom 2 base wires to get into the middle one, across the front, and then down between the top 2. Just basically pretend like the outer 2 base wires aren't there, so you're just coiling around the middle one. And then again you just do it however many times you want. What I do recommend is if you want to try and keep your weave nice and even and symmetrical throughout, is you can count your wraps in between each of the sections to make sure you get it the same every time. You're spacing right then throughout, if you want that even. Obviously if you don't want it, that's fine, do however many wraps that you want, but just keep doing this, and this is the weave, and then I'll show you what it looks like a bit further on. So then when you keep going for a while here, you get this weave that looks a bit like this. So you have these diagonal wire weave sections that are then spaced out with your wraps in the middle. So that's what it can look like. Now both sides are very similar, but the back side is a little bit different just due to the wraps. So you can obviously choose which side you want to use. They're both nice in their own right. So that's how you make this wire weave. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial and found it useful as well. And thank you very much for watching. Hello everyone. Today I want to show you how to do this herringbone wire weave. And it looks like this. So you get this really nice effect, where it's this herringbone effect going up and down in rows almost next to each other, and it just builds along the way, however long you want it to. So if you want to learn how to make this, then stay tuned. So what I'm just going to be demonstrating with is 4 lengths of my base wire here. That's a 1mm wire, and this is just